Hey guys, this is Logic Crazy and I'm Jonathan. Welcome to yet another chess engine tutorial. We'll be focusing in on coming up with all the moves that a bishop can make. So I've set up our board as such here with two pawns strategically placed. This one is here to stop the diagonals. This one here doesn't matter right now. We can just leave it empty. And we're going to be testing it out with that board. So the first thing I did was I created a method called possible white bishop, which will contain the parameters of occupied and white bishop. And I created it right below the possible white pawn method here. And I've written it all out, and I'll just be going through it, explaining how it works. So if you remember, if we just look at the white pawns here, we had this fancy loop, basically. This whole loop thing where it can efficiently go through all of the pawns, and then inside there we deal with the moves. I've created the same sort of loop, but I had to create a loop inside of a loop. Because here is why. What we need to do is go through the entire board, finding each bishop, and for each bishop, find each move it can make through and loop through those moves. So that's why we need two moves. One move that goes through where each bishop is located, and the other loop that goes through all the possible moves that bishop can go to. So the first bishop loop is defined by I. As long as I is not 0, it keeps going through the loop. And the location of that current bishop is represented in I location. And then we have our possibilities, which we get from D and anti-D moves of the I location spots. And then we come up with J, which is our inner loop, which goes through each item of the possibilities and adds a move to the list. And the move format is as follows. First we start out at the I location address, which is where the bishop is located, if you recall. Then we go to the index, which is where the move or the bishop can move to. So we have our format of starting X and Y to destination X and Y. And we loop through all of that, and then in the very end we return our list. Now I've added one little line right here, and I just called it temp for now, and it just takes the list length and divides it by 4, because if you recall, every move is represented by 4 characters. So if we take the length of our list divided by 4, we find out how many moves are possible. So when I run through this code, I'll just put a little stopper there for debugging, and we will find out how many moves are possible to make sure. Now if we look at our board, we have a bishop in the middle here, and if you were to count how many moves it could make, you would count it as 1 down and to the right, 1 up and to the right, 1 down and to the left, and 3 up and to the left, which adds up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 possible moves. Let's run this and see if that is what is returned. Now what we get is temp is 12, not 6. Why do we have double the moves that we expected? It's actually not really an error with most of my code, but there is one mistake. It doesn't recognize yet that it cannot take out its own pieces. Notice that we had 6 moves that are actually legal, but also notice that this bishop in the middle can take out 2 pawns, 1 pawn to the right and 1 pawn to the left. So that's an extra 2 moves. Also notice that the bishops that are in their starting locations at the very bottom rank also can take out 2 of their own pawns apiece. That all adds up to an extra 6 moves, and that is why we're getting 12 move possibilities. So how do we eliminate capturing our own pieces? Well, here's how we can do it. what we do is when we have possibility, right now it's just equal to D and anti-D moves, what we need to do is AND not white pieces. Now, this will cut off all those spots that it captured that were its own pieces. So now if we stop the program, run it over again, we'll get a value of temp is 6. This is what we had expected. Now that it is working correctly, we can delete this temp thing to make sure it works. So hopefully this whole thing makes sense. This is the method for white bishop, but the method for a white rook and a white queen are pretty much the same. All we have to do is take this possibility, and for queen we'd have to AND H and V moves, and then for the rook we'd have to change this D and anti-D moves to H and V moves. And that is really all the change we have to do, except for the obvious, which is changing this whole white bishop value to a white queen or a white rook, and obviously implementing it into our list of possible moves. So I'll let you guys do that on your own time, and we will come back in the next tutorial with white knight moves. Until next time, enjoy Java.